All right, good morning, everyone. Slight delay this morning. Had a little bit of a technical quirk, but we're all good now. So, good morning. It is another Monday, April 15th, 2019. Just past quarter before 6 a.m. Pacific time. I'm Jonathan van Clute with Stock Navigators, and I want to remind you, as I always do, to please do subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and a big hello and welcome to the new subscribers. And of course, as I've said many times before, please give me symbols, leave me feedback, let me know whatever I can do to assist in your trading. That is what I'm here to do, is to give you an idea of what's coming up and try to analyze anything that you could use help analyzing. So just let me know what you could use help with, and I will do my best. All right, let's take a look at the S&P 500 and see what is going on today. Well, not a whole lot yet is the answer to that question. We did on Friday have a big up day, though. You can see it very clearly here if I zoom in a little. We had a nice big bull day on Friday. At least at the end, by the end of the day, it had ended up significantly. I'm sorry, that's not Friday. That's yesterday. What am I saying? Boy, I'm still waking up here. That is yesterday, which is a Sunday actually. So a little bit surprising there. But we did have a strong up day yesterday. So the question now today is, what's going to happen? Is it going to give it all back or what? We've every time we've come back down to this trend line here, it's been a buying opportunity, and yesterday was no different. Even though it was a Sunday, we don't usually get big days on Sundays, but I think there's probably fewer participants on a Sunday, so the market doesn't have as many sellers sitting there in the way, and it just kind of went straight up. So this morning, not a lot going on. Very, very quiet day so far this morning. We'll have to see if that changes once we get to the opening bell. But as I have said so many times before, we've got a situation where the price is going higher and higher and higher and higher, and is getting very close to the all-time high. If I zoom out a little bit more, you can see that here. So this sell zone here is based on the all-time high, and we are almost to the bottom of that sell zone. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens when we get there, because the oscillator just keeps getting weaker and weaker. So we are pretty divergent on our oscillator, but the bulls are still in control. The oscillator has been above the zero line this entire time, hasn't even really gotten very close to the zero line. Closest it got was right there. And the bulls have just held on with very, very strong control here. The trend is most certainly still up on a daily basis. So even if it's going to turn around, it's probably not going to do it in one shot. It's probably going to maybe go up a little bit higher, pull back, test, fail, then finally come down, something like that. That's a pretty standard thing to see, is go up, pull back, go up again, fail, and then come lower and break that previous higher low. So I'm looking for something like that to happen. You can see the MACD lines are kind of sideways. It's been below the signal, above the signal, below the signal, above the signal. It's been really just sort of going sideways for a while now. Even though price is marching higher, the MACD is not marching higher. So there's definitely not a lot of strength in this trend. It's really just a question, I think, of the sellers are not showing up in force. And if they suddenly decide to do that, we could see a sharp correction finally happen, which we're about due for. This wave here is pretty much looking like it's ending. So I'm expecting to see a retrace of this entire move. So I'm looking forward to something like that as a great opportunity, both to play the short side and also to maybe establish some longer term long positions. On the 60-minute chart, also, the trend is very definitely still up. It's very clear that that is the case, but look where the oscillator was back here, and look where it is now, up at these levels. So the oscillator has gotten a lot weaker, especially just in the last handful of hours since yesterday. Basically, the oscillator has fallen sharply, but price is still hanging in there at that same level. So we've got kind of a triple top situation going on here on the 60-minute with a very declining oscillator. So in the short term, anyway, I am looking for some weakness to unfold. We'll have to see what happens once we get to the opening bell, but that is my expectation, is for weakness in the markets this morning. Let's take a look at crude oil. See what's going on there. We're getting a little bit of a pullback. Nothing real major yet, but a little bit of a pullback here. Just a tiny bit, and it might be coming back down to this 21 EMA, which every time price has gotten back down to it again, we have bounced up from there. So a nice pullback to the 21 EMA could be another buying opportunity, another entry. The oscillator has been gaining in strength, has actually gotten higher than where it was back here. So where previously we had what looked like maybe a divergence forming, it wasn't a super strong divergence, but it was a little something. Has now been broken and prices wanting to push higher. So this uptrend is certainly intact. A pullback to the 21 EMA is a relatively low risk entry opportunity. We've got strong momentum. The MACD is also making higher highs and higher lows. All signs are bullish. Everything is pointing to the upside, with the next major zone being up here, right around there ish, somewhere in there. So up in the 75, 77 range, something like that is what I'm looking for as the next major resistance area. Now there's going to be some minor areas here, a little congestion zone here and things like that, but that's all going to be very short term. I mean, just like we saw back here, that happened. We went sideways for just a little brief moment and then kind of marched higher. So we're making higher highs and higher lows. So now we're looking for a higher low to establish, and the 21 EMA might be it. So keep an eye on that level. That's what we're looking for to the bull side. Now on the 60-minute time frame, you can see that pullback underway here by breaking the upward trend line here. We actually broke oh boy, I'm still trying to speak this morning. We actually broke both of these trend lines, actually all three of these even, and are still rolling over to the side and starting to come down. We took out this low here just in the last couple of hours. So this is definitely a pullback is beginning. You can see the attempt to get up higher than this level multiple times, and the oscillator just getting lower, and now broke below the zero line and is heading, breaking the previous higher lows, and doing so on a decent oscillator to the zero side, or below the zero line to the downside. So certainly pullback is in order, and it might be to somewhere around this zone, something like that, around the 61.5, 62 level, which would kind of get us to right around that 21 EMA. So that would actually fit, makes sense. All right, let's take a look at gold. And gold is actually trying to continue to the downside. So, my bear flag idea here that I saw this as might actually be intact after all. It's looking like that's possible. But we still have to get below this low here. Right now, that is the line that we've got to break below to increase to the downside. We've got a rising oscillator at the moment, and right now we're way up here. So even though we're kind of at the same spot with the lows here, these three spikes down, the oscillator is just getting much, much stronger. So strength is building. You can see it really well on the 60-minute as well. We had what I thought was a bear flag here, right? And that actually looks like it has played out. We've got the downside, and there's a little bit more downside momentum potentially to come. And we might maybe reach that 100% extension, which would be down here. So it's got a little ways to go. I don't know if it's going to have it in it to get there, but it is possible. Get down to 1277 or so. That would be just a little bit below this rising trend line. And yeah, does it have it in it? I don't know. I'm not super convinced that it does, but it certainly could. But the rising oscillator on the shorter term as well is showing a definite increase in strength as price comes lower. But price can go lower on a oscillator divergence for a while. So it all depends on the momentum that's left behind as the price eventually slows down and then can turn around and head back up again. So keep an eye on that, but I am looking for the bull trend to resume sometime in the fairly near future. So we just need to see when this runs out of steam and then look to be establishing long positions. All right, natural gas still just grinding lower and getting closer and closer to a retest of this bottom here. Is really what I'm looking for. As I've said so many times before, we have just no momentum in this market. This market has been just very, very quiet, not a whole lot going on. But you can see price-wise, we took out this previous lower low and are now heading lower. So perhaps there is a little bit more downside to come. Oscillator is slightly divergent. We had significantly lower prices, but a higher oscillator. So oscillator's trying to tell us that strength is building. So perhaps we come a little bit lower and then we see a push to the upside finally. We'll have to wait and see what happens, obviously, to know that. But That is the level I'm looking for to test to the downside, and this is the area I'm looking for to test to the upside. So keep an eye out on those levels for the longer term play. Shorter term, of course, just watch for your divergences, watch for your MACD to cross the signal line and cross the zero line. Right now, the bears are certainly in control because we're below the zero line here. So there's not, and that's not something you want to really argue with. The downtrend is still intact. You can certainly see the 21 EMA is pointing down, and we're making lower lows and lower highs. So you want to be looking to sell rallies. Basically, a rally to the 21 EMA is a decent short entry point. But again, don't lose sight of the fact that this oscillator is building in strength. So at any moment, it could reverse to the upside. Just be prepared to switch directions if you're playing the bear side. And last but not least, let's take a look at crypto, which is still continuing to hang on to those gains. Mighty impressive, I must say. I was expecting a more severe pullback here to maybe retest the 44.15 level before going higher, but so far we haven't gotten it. The bulls are really holding this up. We're in, I mean, I guess you could sort of call this a triangle. It had one little attempt to break higher and failed. So right now it's getting close to the point where something's going to need to happen. Price is going to need to break either higher or lower. Now, we do have the oscillator getting a bit weaker. The MACD line has crossed below the signal line. On the shorter term time frame, you can see that we are still above the zero line. So the bulls are still in control right now. But the MACD line has also crossed below the signal line here and is heading lower. And if it crosses below the zero line, then we could expect to see some follow through to the downside. And then maybe we will get that pullback, something like that, and then march higher from there. But we've established, we've broken out of this bottoming formation back here. We've established a higher high, but we need to establish a clear higher low, and we won't know where exactly that higher low is until the higher high has been broken. So if price from here were to just simply break higher, then we would reasonably say that, well, the higher low is, right there. That price went up higher low, or higher high, higher low, and then a higher high, higher low, and then a higher high. But I'm really looking for a more of a serious higher low down in here to then break higher, so that we can say that there was the higher high, the higher low, and then break the higher high. Until then, we don't really truly have a bull trend in force. We have the beginnings of one, maybe, but we got to hold up here and break higher. So that's what I'm looking for, and we will just have to see if price gives that to us or what happens for the crypto bulls. But it's looking good anyway that it has managed to hang on to these gains. That is a good job digesting them and just holding tight. And the sellers have not shown up in force and pushed the price back down again, and the buyers are remaining strong. So it's looking like there could be some further upside in Bitcoin, which is certainly a good thing for those of us who are still holding on to our crypto. So we'll have to see what happens. All right, that is it for the markets this morning, and we are going to take one last look at the S&P 500, and not a whole lot going on at this moment in time. So we'll just wait for the opening bell in 30 minutes. I'm going to go get ready for the premium chat room this morning. So those of you who are going to be in there, I'll see you there. Everybody else, I'll talk to you again on Wednesday morning. And again, as I've said before, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave me that feedback. Leave me any symbols you'd like analyzed, or anything you'd like me to explain, or anything you don't understand, anything at all. Anything I can do to help you in your trading, you just let me know, and I'll do my best to do it for you. All right, that is it. Time to go get ready for that opening bell. Have a great day trading, everybody. Bye-bye.